Too few arrests and a taxi industry that's a law unto it themselves. That, of course, just some of the findings of a probe into taxi violence in Gauteng. The report also shows that police-issued firearms were used in some of the incidents. Transport MEC Jacob Mamabola joining us now on the lead. MEC, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. It's worrying, isn't it? Because according to this report, the taxi business is controlled by unregulated associations that have become a law unto themselves. What are you doing to address this issue?
Well, firstly, good afternoon to you, to all the viewers. As the provincial government of Gauteng, we firstly have welcomed the report. We believe its findings and recommendations are very profound, and taxi industry in this province will certainly never be the same. We have also clearly explained that we were releasing the report yesterday, and our roadmap is very clear. We need to consult with the stakeholders, particularly the taxi industry, and this is happening in 14 days, having allowed them to read the report. And the purpose of that is to adopt a clear, concrete action plan or implementation plan, which will then detail how in time and, of course, in space, we will implement the very important recommendations of the Commission.
All right, but we're talking about people who this report has found has been a law unto themselves. Thugs, I can definitely say that. How do you convince those people to abide by the rules and laws of our country then?
So there are two parts to that. The first one is that we have been clearly directed to make sure that all officials in our department that have played a part of one way or another, based on the evidence generated by the Commission, should be held criminally accountable and liable. That is one action plan we are going to take, and I can assure you that on that one, we will not blink. We are going to implement it as it is. And secondly, there are those in the law enforcement agencies that also the Commission has pointed out that they also have played a role, and those we believe firm action will be taken. The overriding principle is that we should not, as a constitutional democracy proud of the rule of law, have in our government institutions, our own department, people that are using instruments of the law, including taxi operators, to commit crimes, particularly heinous crimes, such as murder. So to that extent, the Commission has spelled the directive very clear. We must respect and enforce the National Land Transport Act at province, national in municipalities, and it has also made a very important recommendation that we need a specialized, dedicated, full-time, 24 hours, every day, every second. That is just focusing on taxi violence and making sure that the 505 cases that are still not concluded are immediately concluded. And we are quite confident that the overarching, very important recommendations that touch every aspect of taxi violence will definitely bring a completely new chapter to taxi industry in our province.
Yeah, it sounds like a very simple and easy way of approaching this issue, but the reality is that the taxi industry has been something very difficult to regulate for a long time now. What measures in terms of your recommendations from this report do you put in place to make sure that we start seeing change, that we start seeing some law and order in the taxi industry?
So let me just build on that point quickly. You are absolutely right. The issue here has been that taxi industry has been left to itself for over many years. And just an example is that the National Land Transport Act does not at all say a word about taxi associations. They're unregulated. It doesn't talk about them. Yet the Commission's report has demonstrated that the taxi associations are the 80% factor in the daily lives of taxi industry and taxi operators. and of course the government as well. What is the first most high impact thing that I think in the discussions around the roadmap we should look at? One of them really is to check who works in our own department, because the Commission has said we are not vetting these people. We have not checked what interest do they have. So constituting afresh what is called the provincial regulatory entry. It means even before we can talk about people outside, just at an institutional level in the department, we need to clean and make sure that we have men and women who are working on the principles of the laws of this country, who are not conflicted, and who are very clear in the skills, in the capacity to run services relating to the taxi industry. That is one thing right here and now, before we can even go and look at other institutions, other people, right in our own house. We must get it to order and make sure that it is constituted, functioning and working in the image of our constitutional democracy, its values and its constitution.
Yeah. So, MEC, while I have you here, of course, taxi drivers are a real pain to some motorists, but another thing that is hurting our motorists is potholes. We have a huge problem in Johannesburg in particular. The Johannesburg Roads Agency is simply saying that it doesn't have the money to fix it. So in the so-called world-class African city, how do we accept that we're going to be driving on roads with holes in them? And what can you do to try to address the situation?
So let me just confirm that, yes, the city of Johannesburg has approached us last week. We had a very good meeting with them in which they presented to us the challenges that they are having imposed by all number of factors, along, sustained COVID-19 lockdown, in which backlogs in road maintenance have come in, severe weather conditions now. So what we have put up a team in the department and the city to say, okay, we hear what you are saying as the city of Johannesburg. Let us look at what are the areas that are much more technical, taking the law into account, spheres of government, jurisdictional things, because motorists, when they drive on the road, whether it's province or municipality. So we have put in place really a process and a team to urgently, and this is not a long-term issue, look at what can be done quick and fast to crack the backlog in the difficulties on the roads, damage to roads, potholes. So I want to assure all listeners, as a province, the city of Johannesburg, and also Mfuleni municipality, the municipalities in the Western district, we are talking, we are looking at this matter, and we are also looking at how to leverage smart technology, because there are also machinery and equipment and material that is much more easier. So we are looking at that matter. We will respond to it very, 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 very soon.
I trust you will. I will hold you to it. So hopefully we can speak about it in a couple of months. Always a pleasure talking to you, Transport MEC in Gauteng, Jacob Mamabolo.